So that was my.
Or it was some unlucky private thinking he was going to grab one more sea ration.
Yeah, it was,
I'm going to get one more can of beans.
No, we came and it was a fight all the way.
I bet it was. That's
100%.
I can't imagine seeing that many soldiers when the wars that Chuck and I fought in were mostly urban, so we had clusters
yeah,
clusters of enemy combatants,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
waves of enemy combatants.
Oh yeah.
So it's a different. It's asymmetrical warfare. So it's a different type.
Yeah.
We shot at clusters of enemy, not at groups of that size. So
No.
I can't.
Well, I remember the British Royal Marines were supposed to be coming was in there, and I can
Yeah.
remember as we're heading south out of Hagaroo, I saw them
Oh
frozen, and you could see them with their arms out and pointing, and their bodies just whatever had happened, they had destroyed the whole military.
yeah. They were frozen dead.
They were all dead.
Oh man.
Yeah, and it was a constant battle, both on either side, and of course on one side you look down and there was nothing down below, thousands of feet down, in a very narrow road. We got stopped at one point in time. The bridge had been taken out,
Mm-hmm.
and so it was 3 or 4 days that we were there, caught with that, to get a supply in, and they flew a piece in, and we
For the bridge.
for the bridge.
Yeah. So you were fighting the enemy and the elements.
Oh yeah. It was.
We didn't have that either.
no, well, heat exhaustion.
Well,
I
heat
guess.
exhaustion, but
But yeah,
not-
it's nothing.
nothing like the.
Yeah.
We didn't die from the cold in mass.
No.
Yeah, no, it was. In fact, at one point in time, a military Marine officer told me, he says, "You get on that line in there, and they were helicoptering out or planes
Yeah.
at one of the airports that they had."
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "You get in line, and you get up." The way I was at was in bad shape. I'm in the line. I got up about 3 or 4 feet from the steps, and the officer there says, "You can walk. You can walk. You can fight."
Okay. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I've. All right.
And
What
I
are you gonna
remember
do,
at
right?
one time, the trucks, and you have oil and heaters inside trucks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Well.
And I can
Ish.
remember on the outside walking along, and all of a sudden the hand walks out with an open can of food, and I grab it, and by the time I could get to the ground and sit down and get at it, it was frozen.
It was that cold.
That cold.
Man.
Yeah, it was terrible. So that was days that we came out of that damn thing.
Just it's hard for me to imagine the environment like that, and then on top of it, fighting a war
Yeah.
as
Oh, yeah.
vicious as that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
And lack of communication.
and
right?
communication, and then like Chuck, you were saying, we're spoiled with the technology we have, and you guys did not have that the luxury of the technology that we have now, and even more so now. We've been out for a while, so
No, yeah, no, it's even.
now it's even
so.
more.
So
It's impressive what you guys did with what you had.
Now, when we came out, we finally got down to the flat ground out of the mountain,
Yeah.
and they immediately put me on board a hospital ship,
Yes.
and we were all evacuating, and undressed me and looked down there, and my feet were all black.
so how
and-
far up? Like just your foot or up your
and
leg?
My legs and way up,
All the way.
not black, but then red.
That
and,
red and pink and all
yeah.
that. Okay.
Frostbite, chilblains.
Yeah, and they said, okay, go to your rack, do not take a shower. And I
What would a
remember
Marine do?
walking.
What would a Marine do? He
Take
would
a shower.
Go take a shower.
He said, don't take a shower. And I kept going, and I hadn't slept for hours and been fighting. I mean, hand-to-hand combat all the way out.
Yeah.
Uh,
So you were like, yeah, okay. Take a
and
shower.
there's a shower. And I went inside the shower. And I was in there for maybe 3 or 4 minutes,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden, I started to come through, and I started screaming bloody murder, and pain was unbelievable,
As it was defrosting.
defrosting.
Oh man.
They took me out, and me and my 2 weapons. I had a rifle and a 45. They put me aboard the plane, and I was in the last plane to leave North Korea.
Yep.
And as we went out, the enemy was shooting at us, and the plane took bullets. I went to the Osaka Army Hospital in Japan.
Yeah.
And I can remember the room I was in. I had a Marine officer on my left, an Army soldier on my right, and I'm in the middle. And I'm watching the corridor, guys going back and forth and whatever. And they'd go down, come back, and there'd be a big lump of, looked like sausage hanging off from his shoulder or his legs, and they were amputating him.
Mm-hmm.
And that went on for 2-3 days.
Ugh.
Came by and looking at my little information on,
Oh,
Under
your
the
med
bed.
record and all that. Yeah.
and all of a sudden they come in and said, "My turn." And I said,
So,
no. And, oh, yeah. And I had a 45. I left my 45 with me.
Yeah. Oops.
I pulled it out. I've got that, and the room is full of, I got officers, military officers, army officers, Japanese people. The room was full. And they said, you gotta go. No way, baby. And we finally came
You
to...
must misunderstand what I have in my hand.
They finally said, okay, take your weapon, give it to us, leave us, we'll leave you alone. And that was my introduction, and I can remember 2, 3, 4 days go by, and all of a sudden I reached down to my big toe, and it was like a glove.
You just degloved it.
And every toe was like a glove. And I'm out there, I'm yelling and pulling my toes off.
God. They're like, well, we told you.
And that was my savior.
But they could have cut your leg.
Oh yeah, and that's
Yeah.
what they were going to do. They would they'd come in and look at your inspection, your stuff on the end of the bed.
But you saved your legs,
Information.
or at least one of your
Because
legs.
they weren't going to take a chance. They were not going to cut. They were always going to cut more to save from taking the chance of nerve endings
Yes.
worsening. So
So they were going to not
they-
take
yeah.
here. They were going to probably take here.
Yeah.
So you saved all of this
And it's with the shower.
with the shower.
With the shower.
Yeah.
No, I paid a hell of a
You
price
paid.
for
I was
it.
going to say you paid a price for it,
Oh,
but
for years.
but
For years. To
You
this
know.
day, I'm cold right now.
I bet you are. I have chilblains, not frostbite chilblains, but I have chilblains. So I have neuropathy. So it's really bad in the cold. Not like you. Yours probably exponentially worse for sure. But you by disobeying, you saved
Yes.
your legs,
yeah.
but you paid a heck of a price for it.
Oh,
But
yeah.
you're a Marine, so you know
I came home.
you came home.
Did
right?
you lose any toes?
No.
So it was just that frostbite skin that. And how
Well,
long did
was
it take to recover?
The toes were small. They
Oh
were,
yeah. How long did it take to recover? Like, get.
I to this day I still have problems.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
but,
like I ran, it's cold as hell right now.
Yeah.
but you didn't get an amputation at the knee.
They didn't have, they wanted to,
Yeah,
and they didn't. And I came home.
but you gave him a nice surprise.
Well, there was some other stuff going on in that hospital, right? When you were there, where they were taking some of the soldiers and giving them shots and trying different medicines.
Oh yeah, that's why they came in to look at
Yeah.
panels, and they were doing all kinds of things.
And you found out later that a lot of the stuff that was being given to people was affecting those men in sterileness, right? Like, wouldn't be able to
Well, they were
bear children.
they were experimenting because why
Yeah.
not?
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, the military is Marines, soldiers, and them.
Well, thinking of on my left was a Marine a Marine officer.
Yeah.
You know, you're tell me, you know, you go, you follow. No, get a 45.
Yeah.
You're not gonna
I
take
follow
me.
this.
And you guys were lucky enough to have children, right? Or a child.
We have two sons.
So you were very lucky
Oh,
in,
yeah.
in all those.
Yeah.
And,
I came home, and the next thing I know, I'm in San Diego.
oh yes.
And in San Diego, I was a drill instructor.
So it came full circle, didn't it?
Yeah.
And this was how long? This is a span of a couple years, or
No, this is all within months.
So when did you meet Arlene?
Oh, this is
Oh, this is after this.
way
After?
after.
After?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah. So you from
It was
50
after
from
the war.
51 is pretty much when you went.
Yeah, all within
So
a year.
after the war.
So
Yeah, it's
Because,
amazing.
you're in San
What a
Diego
short period
around
of
the
time
beginning of
we're talking
52.
about. It's amazing.
Does that sound about right?
This happened.
Well, we went in September to North Korea, to Incheon,
Yeah.
and it was weeks for go to the south, went to the north, was weeks up there,
It's amazing.
and before even Christmas, we were coming back out.
Just vicious fighting
So
the whole
yeah, it
time.
would have
Yeah.
been close to 52 then at that point.
Just
Yeah,
vicious
yeah.
fighting the entire time.
So-
People, weather, everything.
So pretty much within a year of when you went to boot camp and that whole thing you were telling us
About
about,
a year.
you were in the opposite end being a drone instructor. And
Yeah.
so how was it for you as a drone instructor in
Oh,
San Diego?
that was terrible because I was a good drill instructor, okay. But however, I had a man in the group who had 3 years in the Army before coming to the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
And I remember at one point in time fall out and was up the hill. They had to go up to the hill
Yeah.
to fall in, and this guy just saundering. And move it out. And he just saunders. And so I came up and I hit him in the side of the butt with the side of my boot and drove him up. Next thing I know, I'm on officer's mass. Lost my stripe.
No.
They took me out. Oh, in fact, before this, when I came home, I had a 30-day off.
Oh, leave, yeah.
Came to
Oh,
San
yeah.
Diego, and I can remember a room full of us, and these are potential drill instructors.
Yeah.
Okay, and I can remember a general standing there talking to us, and I raised my hand and I asked him, "Are we going to go to DI school?" And he said, "Where'd you go to boot, boy?" I said, "Paris Island." He said, "That's all you need to know."
So
Okay.
What a difference between Paris Island and San Diego.
And Chuck was mentioning
yeah,
that.
so you
San Diego, we'd play, people from Hollywood would come down and play baseball, football with the troops, and they were always out there when they were parading around, etc.
It's like a different
so
world, huh?
you booted this former soldier turned Marine in the ass, literally, right? So
Yeah,
that's
he complained.
that's what you did. You didn't choke him. You didn't
No.
put a bucket under his head and make it go. So you did what most parents would do to their kids if they're in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
And what happened?
I was called up on officers' hours, what they called officers' hours, and they said, you know, it was maltreatment of a recruit.
So you
And-
lost rank.
Pardon?
You lost rank.
Oh, I was PFC.
So which means you lost pay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and they sent me to Camp Lejeune. I'm sorry. Yeah, Oceanside. Second Marine Division up there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Oceanside. And so I was at Oceanside, and we're learning how to use machine guns and this and
It's
that.
nice of you to learn now.
Yeah. So this is going on up there, and we went out on maneuvers one night out in the desert
Mm-hmm.
up north, and God damn it, they got frostbite. And I came back to the camp, and another guy was with me. He was married, and he had frostbite. And so both of us are in there recuperating.
Yeah.
You got frostbite again on your feet?
Yep.
Wow.
Well, he's already a cold casualty,
Yeah.
so super easy. Oh, that must have been the worst.
Yeah, and so they came by, and we were on beds for 2-3 weeks or so.
Sure.
Then we got ambulatory, and ambulatory. This fellow, they came by and they said, okay, we're going to go into the operating room, and we got 18 shots in our spine, or something.
Yeah.
They don't even know what. They were just.
Had no idea.
18
shots
shots.
into my spine, and I couldn't walk. And the fellow next to me, because we were ambulatory before,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
Means you
his
can walk
wife would
around.
visit him, and they'd take off for an hour or so, and they come back, and we could not walk with 18 shots.
Yeah.
And we're really caught. And this guy's coming back in and he's crying. He tried to have sex with his wife,
Yeah.
couldn't get it up.
This is after the 18 shots?
Yeah,
Oh,
and because he
man.
got 18, I got 18.
Yeah.
And what the hell happened to us? And it was days that we were not ambulatory. Next thing I know, I'm sitting in a room full of generals and colonels and doctors, and a room full of must have been 50 people in there. They're determining what do we do with this cat?
As far as discharge.
Yeah, they discharged or whatever. They came to a conclusion that they could send me to Hawaii, keep my position as a Marine, and I could work at the officers' club. And I can remember walking back to my nurse, and I said, I want you to, send out, and I can't write, I don't, my wasn't worth much. And so at that time, Dan C. Kimball was head of the Navy. I had no idea whether that meant anything or not, but I said, I can't write very good, and didn't go through high school.
Which isn't a complete lie, right? It's
Yeah.
kind of a half truth.
Yeah.
I mean, hey.
So I said, please, and I said, all I can say is I joined the Marines to be a Marine, not a half-ass Marine.
You don't work at the club.
And we sent that off. And so I was given a 30-day leave while they decided what to do. The 30 days went by, I came back, and they discharged me out, and I was on 50% disability. And my pay was cut. So I wasn't out of the Marines, but I was not on duty.
Right. Yeah.
And I then spent the next 5 years going all over the country with my wife, and I got into the computer game, and everywhere was terrible. My feet would swell up, they would blister,
He almost
I
lost
would
a
get
couple of
pus
them.
all over the
Really?
place.
He
Yeah.
had one doctor said it was what is it that you get on your feet? Not gangrene, but
Oh,
what is it everybody gets in their feet, and then they go and they.
Well, you get
It's a fungus.
athlete's foot.
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
before.
They told the doctor said, "Oh, it's athlete's foot." Gave him something, and he was on crutches within.
I don't
2 or
think
3
it's
days,
athlete's foot.
And he almost lost his feet. That
Oh,
time.
gee. Some
Yeah.
doctors, I tell you.
If it hadn't been for another doctor, Dr. Dunn.
Oh, it's athlete's foot. No.
3
He would've
separate
lost.
times you could have lost your
Yeah.
feet.
Yeah.
At
This
what
is
point do you
after
just
we
give
were
up?
married, After we were married. This
That's
happened.
amazing.
Well, it went for 5 years, and I what would happen? I'd be out of work
Yeah.
for 3 or 4 days or a week or something like that.
Because it would swell or whatever. Yeah.
And I was in,
Not
All over the United States.
Oh,
Right?
please. Yeah. I can't
So-
even imagine.
and they said, they sent me to Chicago,
Yeah.
Naval station in Chicago. And these guys
Oh,
are
Great Lakes,
examining
yeah.
me, they're going through all that crap, and they come in and they says, well, we're gonna give you some shots.
Yeah.
18 shots. I said, bullshit. And he
18
said, well,
more.
you gotta do it or else. And I said, no, you're not going to do that to me.
I pick or else.
The military came through and I was given half rank of that. They cut me off, went down to half of what I was getting. So I was 25% military.
Wow.
And I spent the rest of my life like that. And then over time, it would be, I found out sometimes if I go cold water, that would help me.
Yeah.
Well, what they did was they had you 50% disabled. But in order for him to be able to get discharged, they reduced him to 30% disabled. And
I
they
hate when
him-
the military
They
does
gave him
that.
like a $20 a month, and I think we're
Yeah.
up to now $60 or something like that a month. They still.
That's a
Yeah.
crime. To me, that's a crime for everything that you did and went through.
Yeah, it's so Mike, who introduced us, he's in our thrift store committee. He told me that you met General Chesty Puller. Is that true? If you don't recall, no worries, not a problem.
No, the name, I know the name and I can't,
You told me that you were coming out of the mountains in Korea, and in a car coming through was Chesty Puller with some of the other leaders, and he was swearing up and he was mad as hell because they weren't doing what he wanted them to.
Because they were pulling the
oh,
troops
yeah,
back.
that was way back in.
Yeah, that was way back when you were in Korea.
Yeah, that was way up
Wow.
north south.
That's when you were way
No.
up north in Korea.
That's because I can remember coming out of Korea, days fighting our way out. I can remember that we hit the ground before I got to the hospital, and I looked over there and I said, "Look at that fucking Marine with the long hair," and it was Helen.
It was a famous correspondent, a woman correspondent
Oh.
at the time.
Yeah, she turned around and looked and smiled at me.
Like, oh, sorry.
Margaret Higgins was her name.
Yeah, Margaret Higgins.
So you have a nice shadow box. I wanted to ask you, what did you get your Purple Heart for?
Oh,
Was
was
it-
wounded.
For the
Yeah, for frostbite.
okay.
Yeah,
I just wasn't sure if that's
Yeah.
what it was for or not.
Yeah, well, I was surprised too. But I always thought you had to have a bullet or something.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
They
I was
obviously considered that due to enemy action. Because
Oh yeah,
you
I
need
was
to get-
disabled.
You need to have a wound due to enemy action to get a Purple Heart. So
Yeah.
they considered that because of enemy action, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
fantastic.
so
Yeah.
did you receive that while you were still in, or while you were getting out, or years later? Do you know the Purple Heart?
Oh, that was right away.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they-
that was
that's
right away.
interesting.
Because I was
Well-
on board a hospital ship. Came to the United States. I was in the hospital there for a long time. They went to Pendleton,
Yeah.
Camp Pendleton.
and I got frostbite there.
Oh,
And that was
they were
in the
just like,
hospital?
yeah, we're going to give
Yeah.
this Marine a Purple
Well,
Heart.
we know someone who served in the Vietnam War who was literally blown up by a mortar, and it took 30 some odd years and a lot of effort for him to get the purple. So that's why
And
I
they
was
threw the
asking.
Purple Heart at him. They said, here you go. And he
I
said,
had
that's
no
not how I
idea.
want it.
Oh no,
Yeah,
no, I'm not judging. I was just wondering because of some of the things we've come across.
But that was Army too. So they were
Yeah.
just like, they don't. Every branch has their own problems,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Well, I
And-
know because as I sit here now, and my feet are cold as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I suffer from this, constantly.
And you were in an episode, or not episode, an issue of Time Magazine, I guess your wife was telling
Yeah,
us.
I'll have to get the
So
data.
we're going to try and put the whatever issue that was up with this and stuff.
Yeah, we'll put the picture up on the video. And then obviously we will. You have access to computers, right? To YouTube or
We
video?
have a computers, but we don't know how to run them anymore.
Okay, what I'll do then is I will.
We can always
We-
make it a point to
We
come
can make
back.
it a point, come back and show you the video
Hmm.
and play it for you, the interview.
I'm
And the
gonna sneak
pictures?
up and see if I can find that thing.
Okay, thank you, Worthing. We'll show you the video, the interview, before we put it anywhere.
Yeah,
To
I
make
don't
sure
know
that-
what, you know, because I never took a bullet,
Yeah,
and the big one was the frost, and it was bad.
Oh, yeah.
Ways-
But you were stuck in tundra basically for days on end
Oh, yeah.
because of any combat, and I don't see why that wouldn't.
oh, it
be,
absolutely
you
would.
know,
Yeah, because if the enemy wasn't fighting, you would have been able to leave.
Well, yeah, we were days coming out of the North Korea,
Mm-hmm.
and it was fighting every damn inch of the way.
Yeah,
Uh,
they
I
made
mean,
you
hand
fight
to
for
hand.
every step of the way. They made
Yeah.
you fight.
Oh,
Yeah.
fixed bayonets, everything, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
I
I
can
mean,
remember that towards the end where the bridge was. I can remember the enemy was coming at us. I had a sergeant on my left. I was in the center here, and the enemy was just flowing through. And I'm firing at the guy, and I could see puffs coming out of his chest.
Because of how cold it was.
No, a bullet was hitting him.
Yeah.
And the guy next to me, I think it was a sergeant or something. He said, "Let me show you how to do that, boy." And it was an M1. Guys, he hit that guy with that bullet, and he just flipped. I mean, just
the Garand is a 30-30, I think.
oh yeah, that's a way powerful
Thump.
weapon.
I think it's a
Yes.
30-30 round. The Garand, although, yeah, the technical way to say the Garand is a Garand, but nobody calls it that.
No. Well,
Everybody
you have
calls
the
it the
carbine and
Yeah.
the Grand. Yeah.
It's the experiences you had. So my father, who's now passed, said his experiences in the military, you couldn't pay him to do it again, but his experiences were priceless.
Oh yeah, you know, you're thinking back over and going what you did, because I had spent Life magazine supposedly in December. I was they tell me that they took pictures of me in the hospital in Japan.
I mean, it's amazing that you and the other Marines and the other members of the military who went to Korea and did what had to be done were able to push the North Koreans back up at least to the 45th parallel, the DMZ, because they would have overran. But again, North Korea had Chinese help too, so
Oh,
Yeah.
the Chinese, there were 10 divisions.
10
Yeah.
divisions. That's
10
not
divisions.
a little bit.
No,
So,
no.
you know, as Marines, we have a tendency to be prideful and get big head and egotistical. So when he was telling me about, you know, Time Magazine, I was like, now remember, Time Magazine did a whole Man of the Year on Adolf Hitler. So you can't take that as, you know, such a huge thing. But, you know, I've been biting at this to do this with you. The last thing I want to just kind of let you know and kind of let you have an opportunity to respond on is when I first met you and you started telling the stories, and today, the thing that blew me the way the most, the thing that made me like feel good was watching your wife and how excited she gets and how proud of you she is and how much it means to her to see you reliving and us being captivated by that.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel?
I don't know. It's you bottle it up. And
Yeah.
You go and you know you keep to yourself.
Yeah.
No, I mean, but with your wife having that much emotion towards you, and you know the things you're proud of, what's it like for you to have someone who supports you that?
Oh well, that was good. I don't know when we got married. You know, I didn't tell her anything.
Right.
Uh,
It's
And we
'cause you
don't.
keep it all.
Yeah,
We don't.
yeah.
And the only thing that came out
We
would
don't.
be this cold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all she saw was, you know, well, it was swelling up and it was cold, et cetera, et cetera. I was in the computer game, so I was going all over the world,
Mhm.
teaching other people,
Yeah.
and that was my
Hmm.
Well, Don, I appreciate your time for giving us this interview, and I cherish your stories. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I wish.